So we're roughly just over a month away from Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk 2. And, you know, the first fight, was brilliant. It really, really was. The whole event, I know Turkey Al-Sheikh has talked about it as well. There was something very special about that whole event. It wasn't even the fact that it wasn't the strongest Saudi card we'd seen, certainly not. But the event just had, there was something about it. So Turkey Al-Sheikh says, to him, that's probably the best because it had something about it. I agree with him. I really do. Obviously, Oleksandr Usyk got the win, and I'm in the middle of working on a film study of a bit like what I did with Anthony Joshua, what went wrong for him, what went wrong for Tyson Fury. Of course, I'll be doing keys to victory when we get closer to the fight, of course. But I'm in the middle of working on what went wrong for Tyson, because a lot of things went wrong in that fight. Not just the fact that people would say, oh, well, he got caught in the 8th round, his nose got damaged, then he was hurt in the 9th round. There was things going wrong for him, technical things going wrong for him from the very first round. So I'm looking forward to getting that film study together and finishing that. I'm hoping to have it done maybe by tomorrow, but probably early next week, most likely. But I'm thinking while I was doing that, going into this rematch, can Tyson Fury improve? And certainly he can improve. He definitely can. He made a lot of mistakes in that first fight, certainly. He fought, I think that in parts in that fight, obviously the rounds he was winning, which was of course rounds 4, 5 and 6, he fought quite well. He boxed very well. And he boxed kind of how he needed to box, certainly in those parts. But as the fight progressed and Usyk started to get a read in the movement and started to force the pace, that's when he needed to change things up. He didn't change it. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But going into this rematch, if he can do them, then he gives himself a greater chance of winning. And it is heavyweight box at the end of the day. People could say, oh, well, Tyson Fury is not a big puncher, nor is Oleksandr Usyk. At the end of the day, Tyson Fury is a man, 6'9", in inverted commas, 6'9". But he's looking heavier, certainly in the press conference and at the Joshua versus Dubois fight. So he is looking heavier. Now, could he decide? I doubt he, and I think actually his manager, I can't even remember his name now, but his manager was saying that, yeah, he is going to come in heavier. So let's say he's a 6'9", 285-pound man. Listen, if he hits you hard, if he hits you with a good dig, it's going to hurt. So don't be fooled into thinking Fury can't hurt Oleksandr Usyk. I think he did buzz him a couple of times in that fight as well. So Tyson Fury going into this rematch, I think he can improve. Oleksandr Usyk as well also can improve, and he spoke about that in the immediate aftermath of the fight, saying that, there was things I need to improve on and I'm working on them. So you would imagine we're going to see improvements by both guys. It might necessarily mean that we get a better fight in the first fight. It might actually mean that maybe it's a bit more even Steven, but I for some reason I think we'll get a better fight this time. I think both guys kind of know that they're in the twilight, and better to kind of go out on your shield, so to speak, and really grab the bull by the horn than to just okay, we'll keep it as it is. He's doing this, I'm not gonna do. They're not gonna do that, I don't think, anyway. But they get me thinking, if Tyson Fury was to win this fight, and personally for me, I would have him as the underdog. I think he was, I'm not 100% sure, I think he was favoured originally going into the fight, but as the fight came closer, I think it ebbed and it flowed, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Oleksandr Usyk was a marginal favourite with the bookmakers, certainly on fight night and probably in the weeks leading up to fight night. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I do believe Fury opened as favourite, but those odds ended up flipping by the end. I would imagine he's going to be the underdog in this fight, definitely. But I do still think Tyson Fury, yes, he does in theory perform better in rematches. I think that that's something that he's trying to hold on to. Performing better in rematches against the likes of Deontay Wilder, John McDermott and Derek Chisora, they pale into insignificance in comparison to Oleksandr Usyk. It's just not even close. But let's say he wins. Let's say he goes in there, performs better, wins it legitimately. I'm going to say legitimately, right? Because the way the boxing, I don't want to call it establishment, but the way other people in the sport of boxing, whether it be Eddie Hearn, whether it be the broadcasters, not just the Zone and TNT, others, Talk Sport, etc., the way they talk about Joshua Fury as if it's a formality. And because that fight's been on people's minds for the best part of, 3 years now, 2021, nearly 4, it's a fight that those people in boxing want to make come hook or crook. Because even now, even though that Joshua suffered a devastating loss and Fury's coming back to try and avenge that loss, and he might not do it, that fight is still a big fight. It's not going to generate the money it would have made in 2021, but it's still a monumental fight. It's a monumental event in British boxing, in world boxing. It would still make bags of money, absolute bags of money. So that fight is well and truly on people's minds. And I think if Tyson Fury was to go in there with Oleksandr Usyk and get the win, I mean, I don't see any other route he would go down. He's talked about a potential trilogy with Oleksandr Usyk. If he wins it legitimately, or if he wins it, let's say it's a close fight, or maybe Usyk on everyone's scorecards, 90% of people, he nicks it, and they give it to Tyson Fury. You know, I don't think he'll pursue a trilogy fight with Oleksandr Usyk. I think Tyson Fury would stick around, even though his skills have definitely diminished. He's definitely not in his peak anymore. Certainly hasn't been his peak in many, many years. I think he'd stick around. I think Usyk, I could maybe talk about him in a separate video, but I think that Fury would stick around. And given the comments Eddie Hearn has recently been making, and not even just recently, the comments he made a couple of weeks ago after it was announced Joshua, because of niggles is the word he used. And I again, the way he's describing the niggles that Joshua has, for me, it's just a smoking gun that they're waiting for the winner of Fury Usyk. And no, they're not actually waiting for the winner of Fury Usyk. They're waiting for just Fury, because there's no mention of Oleksandr Usyk. So they're just waiting for Tyson Fury. End of. Because they're saying, oh, well, he won't be ready by February, you know, if he has to wait another 3-4 weeks before he can train. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, it's another month. Right? Let's say it's another month. That's mid-December. That's well over 2 months away before fight night. I'm stumped as to how that's not enough time. Honestly, I'd be baffled as to how that couldn't be enough time. Because I'm sure AJ would, depending on the severity of the injuries, but there's always ways to get around it. You know, a niggle to me is not you banged up in a cast and can't move. You know, that's not a niggle. So if it's a niggle, it's a case of, oh, well, you can't do any road work, well, then go for a swim. You know, keep some form of cardio. There you go. The way Eddie Hearn's been speaking, that's how it seems. They're chasing Tyson Fury. So if Fury wins, it would be, I'd be amazed if he didn't chase the AJ fight. And to be honest with you, I'd be amazed if AJ didn't take it. I think that his team, AJ himself probably, but certainly Eddie Hearn, that's what's on their mind. Probably Tyson Fury, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, etc. I think that, I genuinely do. If you go back to 2022 it was, I think that Team Fury, I don't think they were serious about the AJ fight back then. I know a lot of people have said that they felt that AJ was, you know, the problem. No, I actually felt that AJ probably would have. I think at that point Eddie Hearn was thinking, because he come off back-to-back losses, probably thinking, send them on in, you know, make a lot of money. And I think AJ still maybe had a little bit enough time that they could have maybe tried something. Didn't happen. I think Fury, there was moving the goalpost as he always does, but of course the Chisora fight was made like that, as with the Ngannou fight. Funny that. I think now at this point they'd make it like that. We wouldn't hear anything about the goalpost being moved. I think that AJ and Team Hearn would go into that fight knowing they're very much the B-side coming off the back of that loss, and that would be the route Tyson Fury takes. I think he'll see a damaged fighter in front of him. I know he's not, you know, perfect in the sense of where he's at in his respective career, but I would say that he would look at AJ off the back of that loss and think, candy from a baby. As long as he doesn't get too damaged with Oleksandr Usyk, he'd be jumping straight back in May, June. I think he'd be doing it 110%. And I think that even if he beat AJ, which I'd say it's probably likely depending on how the Usyk fight goes, because he might take some damage in the Usyk fight, you don't know. But I think he would probably beat AJ. And at that point, the question would be, well, what would he do from there? Would he retire, you know, having beaten Oleksandr Usyk? You know, I wouldn't discuss to become, he wouldn't be undisputed, he'd be unified. Beaten AJ, his rival of many, many years, would he call it a day? Well, he spoke about vacating all the belts apart from the WBC title, so I think he would do what he originally, I believe, planned on doing after he beat Dillian Whyte. I've said this several times and I'll stand by it. When he beat Dillian Whyte in Wembley Stadium, when Tyson Fury was talking about retiring and it seemed real, I think that was more him wanting to retire from what he's doing now, so to speak, chasing undisputed, fighting another guy who is laying claim to be the best in the division, you know, chasing these well, he never really did chase the top contenders, to be fair, apart from, you know, Vladimir Klitschko when he was a contender, Deontay Wilder, etc. But you know what I mean? The Frank Sanchez's, the Ajay Kabayels, the Picolis. He's never going to fight them. I think he'll take that WBC belt and go back on that victory lap. Maybe look to run it with someone like a John Jones, or run it back with Francis Ngannou. Take these gimmicky fights that will make him a lot of money. The WBC will give him carte blanche to do it. And then he can go ahead and claim that, oh, look, I'm still WBC champion. I'm carrying on my career. I'm 36, 37 years old. Oleksandr Usyk is retired. Anthony Joshua was retired. And I beat them both and I'm still going. I'm the greatest. I've no doubt in my mind that's what he'd do. Him against Dubois never happened. Never happened. I think that's what he would do if he beats Oleksandr Usyk. Now, if he loses, I still expect him to fight Anthony Joshua. I think, again, that's what Eddie Hearn and Team AJ. So I don't know about AJ, because he did come out and say he wanted the Dubois fight, the Dubois rematch. Maybe that was the spur of the moment. You know, it was days after the fact. But I would expect if he loses, AJ. Because even then, even if Fury loses, still a big fight. Nowhere near as much money as it would have been in 21. Nowhere near as much money as it would have been if Fury beat Usyk. But still an awful lot. I mean, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, well past its sell-by date. That did well. And that had eyes on it. Plenty of eyes on it. And that's a fight where both fighters, respectively, retired next. Like, that was it. That was both of their guys' last fight. It was Kell Brook's last fight. It was Amir Khan's last fight. And it still had interest in it. It still generated fans. It still generated numbers. People, I think they fought, was it in Manchester? It's full. And imagine that's Kell Brook and Amir Khan, who are big names in British boxing, but they pale into insignificance in comparison to Fury and Joshua. So even at this point in their respective careers, if Joshua's coming down the back of a devastating loss, if Fury gets ironed out this time by Oleksandr Usyk, there will still be massive buzz around that fight. 100%. So that's what I think will happen. And I'm talking about if Fury loses, but I think that's what will happen if Fury wins. He'll go on to face Anthony Joshua. He will probably, if he beats Anthony Joshua, he'll probably then go on a victory lap and just take that WBC title and have these gimmick fights, like a rematch with Ngannou, have a fight with John Jones, someone like that, you know, that sort of way. And that's exactly what I think he'd do. He might even dig up David Haye, they never did that fight, but it wouldn't even shock me if something like that happened. That's what I think will happen. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I will try and do one with Oleksandr Usyk, but I think it's more straight to the point what will happen with Usyk if he wins. But I'll do one nonetheless in the interest of fairness. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. Until next time, peace.